Welcome back to Teaching with Tenia. In the fall will be my first year teaching third grade, so I have all these ideas in my head just running rampant, but I'm trying to relax and enjoy the summer and take it one day at a time. Thinking back on my college experience, I've been trying to figure out what did I need a video on when going through the education program. So in these next few videos, I'll be basically giving you guys things that I wanted to know and or further explain it during my education experience. If you guys have not checked out my graduation vlog, I graduated in May, so you guys go ahead and check that out in the cards above, but let's get right into this video. Before I forget, so I just want to do a question and answer for you guys, maybe a few videos down the line. If you guys have any questions for me or things that I've already posted on this channel, go ahead and leave those in the comments down below because I'll be doing a Q&A soon, my very first Q&A. Now let's get right into the video. So starting off, what is a scope and sequence? My college didn't do a good job of explaining what a scope and sequence was to me or my peers. So I was like, a scope and sequence, we were just like expected to do it without really being taught exactly what it is and why we do it. So basically a scope and sequence could be at the beginning of a unit or on the whole year. Basically a plan for what you're going to be teaching and how the kids are going to learn and develop the concepts they need to be learned, whether it's a unit or the progression throughout a year. Usually you start off learning what a lesson plan is, and lesson plans go into scope and sequences. So basically you know how to do one lesson plan, and then a scope and sequence is multiple lesson plans to get students to that objective or to get through that unit. I actually did really good on this unit, so I wanted to show it to you guys. This will be, hopefully the camera focuses on, but so my professor gave me a topic which was westward expansion for fourth grade, that I had to basically create a unit and show how my lessons would progress and what students will learn throughout that unit. And this is what I will be showing you guys today. This one had to be hard copied because everything else we did was electronic, but they wanted to make sure that we're able to show that we can write a unit plan. With that unit, of course, I started off with a scope and sequence. So I'm going to basically, I'll be going over the parts of a unit plan or giving you some examples depending on your grade level of what a scope and sequence can look like, hypothetically, if you have to do it for school or even in the classroom you're teaching in. Starting off with the generic things, of course, you need your unit title. You would try to make it fun. Like my topic is westward expansion, but I decided to title my unit Moving to the Wild Wild West, just to make it fun. Parents, even school administration, like to see what your students are learning. So it is good to go ahead and make the learning fun and be able to plaster, oh yeah, we're learning about this new unit, insert name of whatever unit you're learning about, and it has a fun, catchy title, and it makes students want to learn as well. You have your grade level and content available. You can go ahead and write all those things down in your name, of course. And then starting off with the unit goal. The unit goal is a sentence that is basically the overarching theme of that unit. Why is it important for students to learn about this? Basically the goal of teaching this unit. What do you want students to learn and be able to do? So a unit goal broadly states what students will be learning or the broad overarching theme. This can be confusing. The big idea over the goal. The goal is what you want students to learn, but the big idea is the underlying concepts of that goal. Usually this is stated as a cause and effect relationship. So for example, the students will be learning this so that they'll be able to and apply it to the real world example. That's how I've been able to write this sentence and make it make sense. So following the big idea, next, if you are in a public school or private school, you may have to incorporate biblical integration. If not, then you don't have to worry about this part. You could just skip ahead. If you do have to incorporate biblical integration, you can go ahead and do so right here. With biblical integration, it shows God's character or something that is learned or revealed about God through this unit. If not, like I said, keep going. Next, you have your standards depending on what state you're in. You can either use your state standard or your school standards or your district standards, whatever standards need to be provided. In this case, I used both my national standards and my state standards because my professor wanted to see how I was aligning them to the overall goal and objective for this unit. Standards can be tricky. So your professor, they may just want the name of the standard or the name and number of the standard and what column or category it falls in. So just make sure you know what your professor is looking for. Standards can be tricky, aligning them sometimes they're even a stretch because standards are so broad. Just double check they align with what you're teaching and what you want your students to be able to do and learn. Unit objectives. For this unit, I only had to do like 3 to 5. I'm gonna read the sentence verbatim because when I had to write objectives, I struggled as well, but this helped me break it down in my head. So for your objectives for the unit, it's basically a synthesis of the lesson objectives. These objectives directly relate to the summary assessment. For your objectives, usually they're stated as students will be able to demonstrate whatever, however your school wants you to write them. Going back to assessments is basically what drives your instruction. You can write your diagnostic assessments, which are at the beginning. You can also do your formative assessments, which are usually in the middle, or how you're assessing their learning, not necessarily for a grade, but also you can do your summative assessment, or how are you going to wrap this unit up and show that they were able to learn. Some professors may want the number beside your objectives of how they correlate exactly, just to make sure they do correlate. But in my head, I had to retrain my brain to think, okay, these are my objectives. This is what I want my students to know and be able to do. But how am I going to say or even assess that they're able to do that? So I have my objectives here and then my assessments right after, so that I'm not creating activities or the lessons in between. I wish I could draw a picture. I'm such a visual learner, you guys. So hopefully this is making sense. What's over here, making sure that what gets them to point A to point B, that's a smooth transition for my students, and it's meaningful activities that actually get them to learn. After you state your assessments and how are you going to assess what you want your students to learn, you can then finally go ahead and block out each lessons, how you're going to teach those lessons, and basically get down to the nitty-gritty and the fun part, which is actually teaching. So you guys can track with me and then of course do it for each lesson after that. There are 6 things you need in each lesson. So the first one is the title of that specific lesson. I know I said you need a title for the unit, but my first lesson here was basically an introduction lesson to what we'll be learning. Maybe do a KWL chart to see what the students know, what they want to learn, and then at the end of the lesson show what they actually did learn, or even some questions that they may have about the topic that they're going to learn about. After you have your title, you then need your lesson objectives, which is the second thing. What are your objectives for this particular lesson? Not your overall broad theme, but just one lesson. It's easier once you've done the work and you have your 6 objectives to be objective 1, this is what they're going to learn. All right, the third thing, your assessments. How are you going to assess your students? Is it a think, pair, share? Is it an interactive notebooks? Is it an actual grade or an exit ticket? Whatever you're going to assess your students for this particular lesson, you can go ahead and write that there. And then the fourth thing is your standards. What are your standards for this lesson? Some professors may want you to write the name of the standard. Others may just want the number. Just double check to make sure so you won't get points taken off. The next thing is your essential question. What questions are essential for this lesson? Or what would the students be able to answer at the end of this lesson? Or what I know I say or a lot, but I'm trying to give you guys a lot of options so that you understand this more deeply. So your essential questions, like, okay, what is that? I like to think of it as your guiding question throughout the lesson. Last but not least, your lesson procedures. This could be scripted, this could be bullet points, however you are able to write your lesson with the opening, or if it's math, you could do your I do, you do, we do section. However you want to display the content the students will be learning in that lesson, that will be last. I hope this video was not too overwhelming for you guys, and you guys get a better idea of what a Scopus sequence is and how to create one for your school or for your professors, whatever you need one for. And I just want to show you guys, like, after I was able to understand what a Scopus sequence was, I was able to get a whole 100. Guys, I was so excited. I got 100, and you guys can too. Once you get it down packed, what a Scopus sequence is and how to implement them in the classroom, it will be much easier for you to teach, because you're like, oh, I already know what I'm teaching in this lesson. I just go to the next one. Oh, I taught this day, and be able to move parts around to be able to fit your students' needs. But that is all I have for you guys in this video. Again, don't forget to write questions down below, because I will be doing a Q&A soon. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in these videos. Peace.